Hello, everyone.
I
Welcome to another episode of SKRAMMDIVE. This is the second part of our Steven Universe special, where we're gonna kind of elaborate on some of the thoughts we had in the Scram view from last time, and kind of go more in depth about what we thought about like the individual character arcs. So kind of like how we separated the first video by like the season, so we cut off for like at the halfway point. Today we'll be talking about, our favorite crystal gems, Steven, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and maybe if we have time, we'll go into Greg and Connie. Um, Steven, as you might know if you watch the video, does not like Connie or Greg. I have mixed feelings about Greg, so they're up in the air. The next video will be about the other crystal gems and Jasper because we love them, but also they have a lot to talk about, so they're separate.
yeah.
Um, so my camera isn't working as usual, which is why you're not seeing my face. It'll probably be covered in
Really?
some stupid art.
Mm.
So we're just gonna deal with the little OBS icon. Not sponsored, by the way. I don't even want to be sponsored. It's a pain in the ass. The question of the week is, who is your favorite Steven Universe character? Mine is Pearl. I've mentioned this many times. What about you, Steven?
I'm gonna go with trying to think of someone who's really quirky. I'm gonna go with um I'm gonna go with obviously I have to go with Holly Blue Agate.
Oh my God, yes.
It changes daily, so I don't have an answer. I really don't.
Yeah.
Right
Let's
now
just
it's Holly Blue Agate.
I guess we should talk about like the main guy, our favorite gem slash human, Steam Universe.
He's not my favorite, but yeah.
He's a favorite.
He's a fan favorite.
Yeah. He's like the one character where you're like, wow, I can't hate you. I hope.
I was gonna say,
I hope.
I hope.
Because he's pretty nice and kind of deserves a lot more therapy than he got. But do you want to add any thoughts about Steven as a character before I kind of explain how his storyline goes, real quick?
Um, he's okay. He's a character. Definitely agree with the therapy thing.
Hmm.
I don't think so. I mean, therapy, Steven, depressing, um, little boy.
Yeah, that's
That's,
pretty much it for Steven. As to like the feelings about his character. But so I giving some background because we didn't really give a lot of background in the original. So if you guys haven't watched TV Universe, which you should probably do that before you watch these videos. But if you haven't, Steven is basically like the main character of the series. It's named after him. And his backstory is that his mom, who at the beginning is known as Rose Quartz, who is this leader of this gem rebellion that happened, because the gem species are like aliens that they're a colonizer species of aliens. That's essentially it. They take over different planets to kind of destroy them and use their soil and resources to create more gems in order to colonize. And they create more gems, yeah, they create more gems to colonize and they colonize to create more gems, and they're kind of just stuck in this like loop of doing what they're told and being in their specific like places. And that's what we know about Homeworld as of like the first series. So Steven's mom, Rose Quartz, is a gem who gave up her life form to create him essentially with his dad, Greg Universe, who we'll talk about later maybe. Um, because gems aren't really they don't reproduce at all. So she basically died in order for him to be born. And because of that, a lot of his storyline has to do with upholding her legacy and kind of just crumbling under the pressure of the shadow she's kind of cast over him and the shadow that like all of his other gem family, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, kind of accidentally like hold over his head to a degree. And it gets worse over time when he starts encountering other gems because they don't understand the concept of children. So they just think that he is his mom. And that's kind of where we start off with a lot of his um, identity issues, essentially. His arc is pretty much about him trying to learn to be his own person and fix his mom's mistakes. And it kind of culminates with him realizing he doesn't exactly need to do that, and everybody else is kind of in the wrong for holding him to those standards. That's the general summary of his character arc. But I guess, do you think there's like a good place to start off, Steven? Like, what was the first episode that kind of like caught your attention with Steven's character?
The second episode,
With the
right? That's the cheeseburger backpack.
is that cheeseburger backpack? I thought that was laser light cannons, or is that the third one?
Oh, I think you're right. I think the second one is laser light cannon. The cheeseburger backpack episode definitely was where I was like, oh, because he was just being goofy, trying to help. Basically, like they weren't even acting like his moms at that point. They were acting more like older sisters,
Yeah.
and I like that because I relate.
Yeah. Steven's relationship with the gems are
My
actually really,
relationship,
huh?
my relationship.
Yes, your relationship with the
Oh
gems.
my god. Yeah, we're gonna see each other for we're going for mimosas next week.
Oh my God.
Hmm.
Not mimosas.
Yeah, we're going to drag brunch.
Without me? You're having
Yeah,
mimosas without me?
they don't really like you. I don't want to tell you, but like last time, they were like was kind of a little heavy handed with the mimosas. I was like, I know, right? And they're like, yeah, don't invite her anymore. I was like, okay.
It was only a few extra drinks, Steven.
Muskan, you threw up on the waiter.
We're all kidding, by the way. So yeah, the cheeseburger backpack. That's an episode I think we talked about in the other video where basically the gems take him on his first mission and he does everything in his own Steven way, but he ends up also failing the mission. And it ends up kind of being a test for him that we learn
Mhm.
later on. And I saw an analysis about the test episode like yesterday, and I thought it was
I
really
saw
interesting.
it. I didn't watch the video, but I did see it. I might recommend it. No,
I
let me watch it.
I watched a little bit and I mostly just read the comments, but I think it's really interesting how like that's kind of the thing that kickstarts his entire arc for wanting to like be a people pleaser
Mm,
and holding like all of his insecurities and his worries about not feeling like he's enough for people in order to make other people feel like that they're doing good enough for him.
yeah.
And that kind of like comes to like ahead like in future where once everybody else is settled, he's like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, so Cheeseburger Backpack was when he first when he had his first mission. Um we kind of just get hints about like who Rose Quartz was, and a lot of the times it's Steven learning about her through like really traumatic means or just by accidentally stumbling across it. And yeah, it's always like him having to fix her mistakes. That's pretty much the entire series, is him fixing his mom's mistakes, but not even being told what those mistakes are.
Yeah.
Like all the Lion episodes are him learning more about like these secrets that she kept from the gems. Lars and the Cool Kids, she just grew a bunch of plants for some reason and didn't even think about the fact that they would lose control when she was gone. And they did lose control.
But did she know she was gonna be gone?
Well, she planned Steven.
But did she like plant those before she was pregnant?
Yeah, but I mean, like, she didn't like take care of them or like get rid of them or make some sort of plan for them to like be taken care of.
She was pregnant, Muskan. Oh
She
my god.
planned to shapeshift for 9 months. I think she could have made like a little bit of an exit plan, you know? She knew she was gonna die.
Damn. You're evil, Muskan. Evil.
Eviler than Rose Quartz.
Definitely.
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I said it.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking and I'm seeing Monster Buddies on here. So this is where we get to Steven fixing everybody's problems and being really ridden with guilt over everything that
Oh
happened.
no. Oh no.
So I really am upset that Centipedal didn't get more attention later on.
Oh, had to beat all.
considering that she was the one that kind of kickstarted Steven's like whole thing with trying to fix like all the corrupted gems. And that was what the last episode was kind of about. It was Steven trying to get like the corrupted gems, but specifically her, like to be okay. So I'm really sad that she wasn't given more attention and they didn't have any like interactions in future. Um, but yeah, Steven basically tries to continue to save the corrupted gems in any way he can. He tries to tame them, he tries to heal them with his spit and everything, and it just doesn't work, and it really like demotivates him. But also that's when he starts to kind of realize that what the gems are doing with the corrupted gems as well may not even be the best thing because in the episode Monster Buddies they got like pretty violent and he noticed that like they were scaring her and it was making the corruption worse. So he gets like really close, like kind of making a breakthrough with just his kindness, like helping people, which is pretty much like a trend for how all he handles every single conflict that comes his way in the show. He uses kindness and I guess empathy and understanding in order to just bring people to his side. And it almost worked with Centipedal.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually after that, we learn that Steven has healing spit. And that involves Connie, so we won't get too much into that.
Yeah.
Um, immediately after that, we get Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem, which that is the episode where Steven finally befriends a new gem, and we kind of learn that the crystal gems are doing like some wrong, and he actively like goes against what they're saying for the first time. And the second time that happens is with um I believe it's when Peridot is there with the Robinoids. He goes into like the warpad after they told them not to, and he gets stuck out there and almost dies.
Yes. Yes, it was
Yeah.
that one.
So after Steven learns that the gems are kind of just lying to him and hiding stuff about Homeworld and other gems, he begins to like get a lot angrier at them whenever
Mhm.
they hide stuff from him and just kind of go off on his own and be a bit destructive about it. And it's a lot more subtle earlier on because you think, oh, he's just like a naive kid who's just trying to do what he thinks is right. But as we see in future, that becomes like a bit of a worse coping mechanism for him where he really isn't like that patient when it comes to getting answers. Um, he also has like a huge insecurity with people getting hurt with what he's doing and
Mhm.
his life, um, especially humans, because almost all of the time, yeah, actually, almost all of the times the gems have gotten poofed or people have gotten hurt. It's because of him, like protecting him or somebody coming after him and them getting in the way. It's always like been like centered around him because of Rose Quartz, and he's got this sort of like guilt or fear that everything he is in he should do alone because otherwise everyone's gonna get hurt. Like even his dad, his leg broke. Like Connie, um, I guess nothing happened to Connie at this point,
Unfortunately.
but she very much did start putting herself in danger. If we were to talk about that later, I don't know. Um,
We got
ep-
like the song.
yeah,
What's this song? As we him, you do it for her. I think or whatever.
yeah, do
I don't
it
know.
for is it do it for him? Do it for her? I don't know the name of the song, but it's something like that.
I think
Um,
it's yeah, something like that, I believe. Do it
yeah,
for them. Because we're
do it,
gender inclusive here.
yeah,
It's
do it for them.
Pride Month, Muskan. Come on.
Yes, my apologies. Yeah, so he's got like this huge like just complex about that, and he doesn't want to bother other people. That is the core part of his character is he doesn't want to bother other people.
Yeah.
He's always putting other people's feelings before his own, even when it's extremely heartbreaking for him. Like in full disclosure, after all the stuff with oh wait, actually we should talk about the season finale first. So, in the return, Steven gets
Ooh,
angry.
very.
So yeah, we're getting a gem invasion. Jasper, Peridot, Lapis are coming back, and
Icons.
icons, but they're coming back to destroy shit, so they're not that iconic at this moment.
Well,
Okay,
I
they're
mean, have you seen Earth? I think maybe a little destruction wouldn't do it too bad.
yeah, okay, and also they were like super creepy during their debuts, so
They were super creepy.
I wish they kept that creepy factor, but that's for next episode. That's for the next episode.
I think you said that in every single take we've done.
Yeah, because I'm so upset that they didn't keep the gem's creepiness factor and Homeworld's creepiness factor. Like next episode, I'll finally my
Oh
rant.
my god.
But yeah, so they're coming to invade, and the gems are actually being smart this time, and they're like, Steven, you shouldn't be here. This is dangerous for you. You are a child. You should evacuate with the rest of the humans. And
Hmm.
Greg even takes him.
Yeah.
Like they're on their way. They're on the highway, like leaving Beach City and heading out of the state probably.
Okay, a highway's it was a two-way
I
street.
thought it was a highway. Did I misremember?
It it's definitely a two-way street. Because I remember, they pulled over and there
They
was like greenery.
they pulled over. I'm misremembering. I thought it was
I
a big road. Whatever.
No, it was a little teeny tiny two-way street.
Okay, my bad. I misremembered. So they they
This is
pull
very
over.
important details, Muskan.
Very important
These are the
detail.
details that people want.
These are the details that people want. Whether or not it was a big street or a small street.
Duh. It really helps to know the characters and their streets.
Greg doesn't know how to drive on the highway yet.
Oh, I doubt he does not. Definitely,
Didn't they
definitely
drive on the
not.
highway during Future? Or maybe that was
I think.
Steven.
Uh, I think it was Steven.
Greg doesn't know how to drive, confirmed.
Oh my God, are you Greg then?
I am Greg.
I attacked you. I'm sorry, but I
I mean,
attacked you
I mean,
there.
you don't know how to drive on the highway either.
Um, yeah, but like I could do it if I need to.
Would you though?
If I needed to.
What
Hmm.
would need mean?
Medical emergency.
Okay.
Um, um, Probably only a medical emergency. I'll be honest. Maybe
Yeah,
if I get really good deals on the last minute ticket, for a show, maybe that as well.
like very last minute.
Like you have half an hour to be there.
Okay, but there's no way you're gonna get there in half an hour on the highway either.
Trust me, I'll find a way.
You might actually be better locally.
I'm gonna be that foot. It's not getting off the accelerator.
You're swerving.
So I'm swerving. I'm gonna make that plane. That plane. I'm gonna make.
You're gonna get a plane.
I'm gonna make a plane. I'm gonna tape cardboard to the side of a car and make it fly
Oh my god.
like Pearl when she made that spaceship. More
Oh
on
my
that.
god. Yeah, more on that when we get to Pearl. Pearl's the last, by the way, in my list. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so
The
um
two-way street.
they're on the two-way street, heading out of the state probably and the city. Just evacuating as far as they can, I assume
Which,
was the intention.
yes.
And Steven starts asking Greg about like what the war is. Why are gems evil? What's going on? He learns that there was a war. That's pretty much it. He learns there was a war. The gems were trying to colonize them, and the crystal gems were the ones who rebelled. And Homeworld is not happy about that. And he gets mad. He gets so mad. He's like basically tells Greg to like take him back or something, or to pull over or whatever. I don't remember what it was.
Hmm.
But he wanted to be there with the crystal gems, and he like breaks part of the car.
Oh yeah.
He breaks part of the car. Greg stops, and then he just runs back. Like he got angry.
Good thing it was in a highway.
Yeah, I guess that is an important detail then. But yeah, and he runs back, and then out of nowhere, he kind of just like finds the gems fighting, and he protects them, and it causes a lot of issues. He gets punched in the face and kidnapped essentially, and they escape. That one's fine. But in the next episode, he is shown to be incredibly traumatized, by just, Garnet getting destabilized and poofed, um, them almost getting like dying by crashing into like Beach City, um Jasper like nearly breaking his face. I think actually broke his face. I think in the X-rays that they show like later on in the series, he has like scars there.
multiple over the
Many,
head.
many. So I think she did break his face. Um and yeah, he was extremely traumatized. That showed up in many flashbacks in the next episode. Oh, and the Malachite, that traumatized him too.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene showed up like a few times in his flashbacks. That was scary for everyone involved, even the viewers. Um, and he just doesn't want Connie involved. He wants all the humans to stay away, um, because he thinks that they're in danger with him. And eventually he kind of gets over that, but we see later on that his sort of like martyr complex continues because he believes that because Rose, his mom, started everything, that it's his problem to fix. And the other people don't exactly help with that because they're always talking about Rose's image, Rose's legacy, and how Steven is all that's left, you know? And it's not good. And it's probably because of the fact that the gems can't understand fully what a child even means. But, I mean, Greg should have known.
Rex should have known.
Greg should have known. Greg should have done a lot of things. Yeah, and after that, we kind of see Steven kind trying to be like a normal kid, like in Joyride. He just tries to have fun, and it ends up almost killing him. Because he just can't be like a normal kid. The gem stuff follows him everywhere, and it's something that he can't get rid of no matter how hard he tries. And he's always taking on the burden of all of his family members' traumas. Like the gems, obviously, he has to deal with when the cluster stuff is going on, he has to take upon like all of the stuff around fusion that Garnet is like facing and all of the trauma. And with the stuff in Sardonyx too, all of like her anger, he kind of has to like be the witness of. With Pearl, it's all of her trauma regarding Rose that he has to
Oh my
take
god.
on. Too much trauma. And she's like his mother figure out of all of the gems, so you can tell that their relationship is even more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And Amethyst is probably the one who by the end of the series has like the most maturity regarding her relationship with Steven. But in the beginning she very much does not. She does make things worse. Like she doesn't take him and a lot of his issues seriously at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he has to be the one who kind of because she views him as more of a sibling, he ends up having to like deal with a lot of her like inferiority complexes and identity like stuff regarding that and self-hatred and always having to reassure her or deal with when she becomes a bit more destructive and angry. And later on with all the after all the cluster stuff, once we get to the Peridot arcs, we kind of see that he's also taking on like most of her redemption arc too. Like that's something he's taking care of because he's the only one kind of vouching for her, right?
What? Sorry, I spaced out.
Oh, yeah. So when we get to the Peridot redemption arc, he's kind of the only one that's also taking on the responsibility of reforming her because he's
Mhm.
he's the only one who believes in her. And that caused a lot of issues too because Peridot is a very good character, but she's certainly a character and her redemption arc has a lot of ups and downs and it can be a bit frustrating. Um and yeah, he takes on the burden of that. And that one doesn't actually do much because him and Peridot become like really close friends, and I really do like their friendship. They're just like they're just good pals. They care about the other. Um, and then with the cluster, we realize that Steven, oh, actually, we learned this earlier on. Steven basically has psychic powers that he got from his mom, and it makes him really susceptible to the emotions and kind of feelings of others. Like he's able to go into Malachite's realm, he's able to sense the cluster and has like a panic attack. And he like basically like tells like all of its like components to bubble like themselves. And that's all him. Like he's handling all of that. Even Peridot didn't know what to do. And then after that we get into Lapis, which is another character who is certainly a character.
Hmm.
Steven, since the beginning, has kind of taken on the brunt of Lapis's issues because he is the only person that she trusts. And it's honestly mostly just him just being like a witness towards her like self-destruction, kind of always trying to like pull her back in, but it never works, and that's also something that stresses him out a lot. Um, oh, and then after that, we eventually get to Mr. Greg.
Mr. Greg.
So that's like my favorite episode of Steven Universe. One of them, probably, but like it's up there. Yeah, so Greg and Pearl have an interesting relationship, and Steven is tired of always seeing them fight and always being upset about the fact that Rose isn't there.
It's over, isn't it? Isn't it over?
And like, look, they both love him like a lot, but they very much aren't over Rose. And that's the episode where he
And
kind of
she's gone.
you missed the line about having to be there for her son.
It's over, isn't it? Why can't I move on from this song?
That song's been stuck in Steven's head for way too long.
For at least a week at this point.
It's hilarious. Anyway, he fixes their problems yet again. He keeps fixing everyone's problems, and we just keep seeing that over and over again. He tries to fix, like, Lars's problems. He tries to fix the pizza and the Fryman's problems, Kiki's problems. He tries fixing Centipedal again. Um, again with more Lapis problems. We have Andy now. Then we have more like Amethyst and all that. And eventually, when he starts fighting Jasper, he learns that Pink Diamond was. Oh no, before this too. We learned that Rose shattered Pink Diamond, and that Pink Diamond was the one who held the Earth colony, and it's a lot on Steven. And then we get to Bismuth. So Steven learns that his mom, despite shattering somebody as far as he knew, bubbled one of her friends and didn't tell anybody about her because she wanted to shatter a diamond. And he almost dies, but then also he learns that like how terrible his mom actually was in communicating and all the secrets that she had. And then after this he witnesses Jasper getting corrupted. He learns more about Pink Diamond and then ends up getting bubbled and stuck in space. And even after that, like we see in Mindful Education that he's got so much trauma and guilt surrounding Bismuth, Jasper, and just his mom, and that he doesn't really. Oh, and Eyeball, who he left in space, and he just doesn't know how to deal with that. Like it's constantly haunting him, and like it's getting like bad enough that's causing Stevani problems when like they're both fused, and they almost die because like Stevani like gets so like stuck in their like thoughts that they almost fall off a cliff. Like
Lord.
they walk off of it.
There's a lot of clips in Steven Universe. I'm just realizing this.
Yeah, there are. It's
They
because
need to, they need to get some fences.
I'm surprised. Like, no, Amethyst even fell off a cliff.
Amethyst fell off a cliff. That's when she shattered her gem.
Yeah.
Oh my god. They really need to get
Wait,
some
no,
fences.
they had a fence there.
Oh. Oh
Connie
yeah,
literally asked about that.
like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, we got it because Amethyst
Cracked her
fell.
gem. Oh my god. Yeah, we just keep seeing Steven fixing everyone's problems, witnessing his friend die, having to bring his friend back to life, having to sacrifice himself over and over again, and him thinking that he deserves it. And it all just like culminates into kind of just the final part of him being so tired about everybody hiding everything from him that he demands that they teach him, or no, that they tell him what's going on, and then Pearl finds some way to like kind of go around the order that Pink Diamond gave her, and we find out that Pink Diamond was Rose all along, and all of his problems could have been fixed early on if this part was just open, you know, if there wasn't so many secrets. And then his family falls apart right after that, and he has to put Garnet back together because Ruby and Sapphire are not mature.
No.
They're very much, they're incredibly immature, separate. I mean, Sapphire's a little more mature,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
even
yeah.
then, when it comes to Ruby, they're both incredibly immature about their relationship. And so he ends up having to bring them back together, and Amethyst is the one who's like, this isn't your responsibility. How are you doing? Like, that is the first time we hear people ask him that. Well, no, second time, because if I remember correctly, Pearl and Greg tried earlier.
Tried.
They tried, but Steven was distracted by Connie at the time, so it wasn't any gem related trauma, so they didn't know what to do about that.
Oh my god.
um, he was kind of almost getting over like a friend breakup.
Not a friend breakup.
Friend breakup. Okay, but those are heartbreaking. Friend breakups.
I mean, you had one.
I've had many.
I haven't had a breakup as much as just a friend ghosting. You know? I just like stop talking to people.
See, I'm the type of person who kind of puts up with people's bullshit until I just get tired of it, and then it gets messy.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah, you were there. You saw it.
I saw it.
Yeah, you saw it. Anyway, that's unrelated.
McDonald's Canada is getting wraps now?
What?
I'm offended. Girl, we gotta go to Canada now.
Why?
Because they're gonna get the chicken wraps at McDonald's.
Oh, field trip.
So,
Now you gotta learn the highway. Oh my
now
god,
I
it's
got,
come full. It's come full circle.
I'll make a plane. It's fine. I got cardboard.
Anyway, so the diamonds show up. Steven almost dies. He gets like
Mm-hmm.
his equivalent of poofed.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's stuck here now having to take on all the diamonds issues
Oh my god.
and having to fix whatever like yellow and pink. No, not yellow and pink. Yellow and blue are going through regarding pink.
Yeah.
Um,
And then white at the end too.
and then White removes his gem
Oh my
after
god.
taking all of his family hostage. And this is like a
Mm-hmm.
big part because it keeps him traumatized for a long time. Because the only good thing that happened from that is that he learned that he is just himself. Like, he is Steven, he's not Rose. I mean, I guess he could kind of be considered like a minor fusion, but
Yeah. But like,
he's Steven.
yeah,
I think the creators confirmed that he would die without his other half.
that makes sense.
So, like, they can't live without, like, separated for too long. They'll both die.
Oh.
Yeah. And then in the movie, we see that he's finally happy. And then Spinel kind of comes and destroys it, and he learns that his mom did something else again. And he doesn't know what to do about it because he's like, come on. He finally worked so hard, and all of his character development of him learning his powers got brought back to the beginning because he lost his powers and he had to relearn them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's once again taking on everyone's responsibilities, and by the end he says like that there's no such thing as a happy ending. And this kind of affects him in future where he essentially just has a huge mental breakdown because of the fact that everybody is moving on without him. Everybody is finally happy, but he doesn't know what to do without having to make them happy because that was his entire life for a long time. Like
Yeah.
Era 3's done. All the diamonds are like reforming everything on their own. They don't need his guidance anymore. Uh,
Democracy.
democracy. They're undoing all of the problems. They might even go back and redo undo the cluster. Um, all the gems are reforming all the other gems, and they're completely independent. And Connie's moving on, and his dad's moving on. All of his friends are moving on. He doesn't know what to do, and he has a mental breakdown, and he is extremely traumatized. Like this is where all of his trauma starts to show up, and he becomes extremely angry and irritable and like self-loathing, but also hating everybody around him and being angry that they didn't help him, which is like a very fair assessment. Um, and we learn that and we don't really like learn much. It's all stuff that like we have known about him and it's coming up, like his anger issues and stuff. If you rewatch Steven Universe, you see that from the beginning. We talked about it. Um, he's always had like anger issues and been an angry person and had like that inherited from Pink. I think Rebecca Sugar, I don't have the quote for this, but I heard someone say that she said that he got his empathy from Greg, so that's part of his human side, not his gem side. So a lot of that he did get from Pink. And it just he becomes extremely volatile, extremely antisocial after his plans to fix to like keep everybody together doesn't work. Like he tries to force Lars and Sadie back together. He proposes to Connie, which is weird. And eventually, after everything, after going to Dr. Maheshwar and finding out that he's just extremely like he's traumatized, his body is completely destroyed and rehealed on the inside. And he goes to Jasper, who at this point has not adapted to any of the changes happening. And he eventually is coached by her in order to like let out all his anger through violence and everything. And he shatters her. He straight up shatters her. She's dead, or as dead as a gem can be. And he brings her
Yeah.
back. And then he acts like everything is fine. And he keeps trying to fix things and distract himself from what he did and what's going on. And he eventually becomes a corrupted monster. And eventually, um, one thing I didn't like was that it was Garnet who comforted him.
Why?
I Because Garnet had made his situation like a lot worse throughout Future. And
That's true.
even when like Steven would get ultra emotional, it wasn't really Garnet who would deal with that. Like Garnet was like the protective figure who helped him in those situations, but in Future she definitely made things worse.
Yeah.
I feel like if anybody had to do it, it should have been Amethyst.
Oh, I would love for him to do it.
Mhm. Because everybody else has never really paid attention to him as much. Um, but yeah, so they give him like a hug. They basically tell him that he'll be okay and that they won't give up on him. And he eventually goes to therapy and moves out, and that's basically where his arc ends. He
That's
just
cool.
learns that he just needs to like move on and get away from all the stress that other people have caused him and be his own person. And yeah, that was Steven's arc. Do you have any follow-up thoughts
Um,
about anything in particular that you enjoyed or
I definitely enjoyed it. I love that Future delved more into the actual mental health of it all.
hmm
So I think that was something that a lot of cartoons just don't address whatsoever.
yeah.
And I hope that they in maybe like 10 years do a little mini like maybe a little movie again to
I'd
see where
love
he's
that.
at now.
Love that.
Maybe he has kids. If he has kids, do they get jump powers?
I don't know if you'd be able to pass on like the gem powers. I don't think he would. I think they might just end up like being mostly human because he needs to give up his gem in order for them to get it. But
He's
because
so
he's organic, he wouldn't be able to really do that.
it's crazy.
I think they'd just be human.
That's boring.
Yeah. I don't know. Because he's organic, he can't give it up. Because
Is he also free range though?
what do you mean?
Organic and free range.
Shut up. Whatever. Yeah, that was kind of his arc summarized, and us just talking about what we liked about it and what we didn't like. Um, Greg should have done more. Greg
Yes.
should have done more. The gems also should have done more, but also they were never kids. They can't really grasp what that means.
Yeah, no, Greg should have definitely done more.
hmm I mean, he tried. He tried once, maybe
Once.
twice, and then he gave up. Like in when like they went to Korea, Greg shouldn't have taken him. He should have been like, no, that's dangerous. Like if Garnet was saying that that's dangerous and everybody else is saying it's not a good idea, he should have respected that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, we'll talk about Greg later. Next up is Garnet, but there's not really much to talk about her because her arc isn't, she doesn't really have an arc per se until like the end.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'll just quickly go over her. So Garnet, fun character. I love her. Despite like some of my criticisms from Steven arc part, I love her. She's an icon. Um,
Yeah.
she's pretty much like the chill, like um, I guess kind of like a mother figure to Steven. Not to the same extent as Pearl, but like still like another older relative that like he looks up to, and she basically takes on like a protective role for him.
And Auntie.
Yeah, she's like a fun aunt. Like a yeah, that's pretty much it. She like takes care of him, humors him for like whenever he has like fun stuff that he wants to do. Um, she's pretty quiet, so we don't really know much like about her, but we could tell that she really loves Steven and cares for the other gems a lot. She's kind of the leader, so she has like a lot on her mind. Um, and she wasn't the leader before this either. She was just kind of put into that position after Rose died, so she's also like kind of figuring it out as she goes and mostly just relying on Sapphire's like future vision. Oh, I should probably explain their backstory and then Garnet. I forgot I did that with Steven. Okay, so Garnet is a fusion. We explained what fusion was in the last video. Two gems become one gem. Um, so Garnet is made up of ruby and sapphire. So I guess I'll start with Sapphire because she's a bit more complicated. She was I guess, kind of a diplomat, sort of aristocrat in Blue Diamond's court.
Mhm.
Like specifically, she was on Blue Diamond's court, like the higher up people, and she can see the future. That's her job on Homeworld. She sees the future and she tells the diamonds what's going to happen. And she is a perfectly cut sapphire, I believe that was mentioned somewhere.
I think
Or
so.
yeah, she's like a really like a good sapphire. Like her future vision is near perfect. And it is perfect up until a situation happens with Ruby. She basically like predicts that how the rebellion is going to fall if everything plays out exactly. But Ruby, who is kind of just a regular foot soldier who was created like a little bit before that, they both serve Blue Diamond. She's basically one of Sapphire's bodyguards. And during the attack, um, Rose slash Pink and Pearl attack them, try to poof them or shatter them. Um, I think in the prediction it was that they would just be poofed. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so Ruby steps in and then they accidentally fuse. And fusion between two gems is a big no-no on Homeworld. So the Ruby is set to be shattered and the Sapphire is set to be out of commission, so like poofed and then
Yeah.
probably like severely reprimanded, but they're not gonna get rid of a Sapphire that easily because she's like extremely valuable. Um but the Ruby was gonna be like shattered, gone, dead, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
so Sapphire saves her and they end up falling in love. It's really sweet. I really love the song that played. That kind of like was reminiscent of "Stronger Than You." I really like that song. And they fuse and become
Oh,
Garnet again.
got it. Back together. And I'm never going to enhance someone because it's so much better. And something go getter. And then play our rules.
You don't know the lyrics,
Yeah,
do you?
yeah, you too. Let's go, just me and you. Let's go, just one on two. And
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
this is my
Um,
contribution to the video.
Thank you, Stephen. It's a very good contribution. You just listening is helping me organize my thoughts. Um, they're caught by Rose and Pearl, and they basically influenced like the new movement for the Gem Rebellion because instead of just defending Earth, it becomes creating a place where the gems are free to be who they want to be as well. And she's kind of the catalyst for all of that. She is the answer. Like, I know she said like love was the answer, but she was the answer as to why the rebellion continued and why Rose was so passionate about it. Um,
Antichrist.
Antichrist.
Yes.
uh, yeah, sure. Um,
Why not? Might as well.
might as well. She deserves it. She's iconic like that.
She deserves it.
She's iconic like that.
She deserves it. Okay, what can we say?
Anyway, that's kind of it. She kind of is just like, a good member of the Crystal Gems, like one of the main ones, up until like Rose dies, and then she's suddenly put into this leadership position and having to run all the missions, do everything, kind of just handle all of the stuff and
Mhm.
keep uh Pearl, Amethyst, and Steven safe and protect humanity. She's got a lot of pressure on her shoulders.
And
Um,
those are some big shoulders.
and she's got a lot of pressure on them. So yeah, she's a fun aunt to Steven. She loves him a lot. She mostly just is there to kind of just like yeah, handle the missions and make sure that Amethyst and Pearl don't kill each other. She has some cute moments with Steven where she basically tries to like teach him life lessons and does work at times. Um, she tries her best. She tries her best. She really does. She tries to entertain Steven, humor him, keep his confidence up, and just comfort him when he needs it. She doesn't really have that much going on with her as far as I know. Um,
And their wedding was really cute.
the wedding was so cute. In Future Vision, we end up seeing that she is like kind of affected, like quite a lot about her future vision, and that it is incredibly stressful for her.
Mhm.
And she does have like a desire to get close to Steven and let him know about all the stuff going on with the gems. We learn that she is a fusion in uh Jailbreak, and that this is also something that she wanted to tell him. It's kind of implied that the reason that she never told him that she was a fusion was because of the fact that he cried when Ruby and Sapphire first unfused when he was a baby,
Oh,
and so she was kind of just scared. I think that's what the implication was.
I
I think. Um,
think so.
so that's kind of sad, but they love her too. Um, or they love him too, and there's not much going on there. Keeping it together. Okay, when we get into the cluster stuff, that's when we
Mm.
get into a bit of the Garnet angst because the cluster was a forced fusion experiment. All of the gem shards of like whatever it was, homeworld soldiers, crystal gem soldiers, all of their shards were purposely fused together to kind of emulate regular fusion between two gems. And Garnet was the first like gem to ever do that, and she felt a lot of guilt. She felt that it was her fault, and
Mhm.
like she almost unfused over it because Sapphire was blaming herself about not seeing this happen and being the cause of it, and Ruby was angry at like herself and the diamonds for doing this. And it was really bad. And the cluster stuff kind of like messed her up for a while because of just the fact that it was a forced fusion and she's a fusion made out of love. So it's something extremely disturbing to her. After that, there's not much. Most of it is just, oh, yeah, we get sardonyx.
Oh.
Um, okay, so Pearl essentially tricks Garnet into fusing into as sardonyx a few times.
Mhm.
Horrible, very bad, like very bad thing Pearl did. And rightfully, Garnet is upset about that because Garnet herself is a fusion, and like coercing someone to fuse is already like a really shitty thing to do. But because of the fact that Garnet lives every single day as a fusion, it's even like more of like a slap in the face. Like that's who she
Yeah.
is.
And it's like
Um,
it takes a lot of trust to be a fusion, and she
hmm
basically broke their trust by doing that.
yeah. And so because of that, both Ruby and Sapphire ended up just unfusing because they both had different opinions on how to handle the situation.
Mhm.
That's kind of something we see a lot is that uh, while Garnet can be extremely patient and kind of wise about the way she acts, she can also be really impulsive.
Yeah.
Um, that's like the Ruby and Sapphire in her. I think it was in the episode where Steven was like aging rapidly, where she kind of panicked and then just started shaking him. And like we could see that she can be pretty impulsive sometimes when she doesn't know what to do. and they unfuse. It causes a lot of grief for Steven because, he's just watching like what is essentially one of his like guardians just fighting like nonstop because Sapphire wanted to just move on because of her future vision, and Ruby is angry. And I think Rubies are shown to be like a little bit more emotional, like most
Mhm.
quartzes. Um, I think Rebecca said somewhere that blue gems are, well, they're a lot more petty but intelligent, so they like think a lot more, but they can be like pretty like they can be a little stuck up and mean. Um, hmm?
When we were at TJ Maxx, there was a bracelet. You know what the bracelet was? It was a blue agate bracelet,
Oh my God.
and that I thought of her.
Ugh,
That's it. That's my story. That's my contribution again.
we should have gotten in for the video. Yes, and yeah, quartz is impulsive, especially if they're under yellow diamond, I think.
Mhm. I agree.
But oh wait, but she's not under yellow diamond, but
Ruby.
she's still a quartz, so technically, do rubies fall under quartzes? I thought they did.
I think so. I think it's a type of quartz.
Okay. Um,
I'll look it up while you talk.
yeah, because I know that rubies have the same jobs as the other quartzes, like they're the warrior gems. So, anyways, that kind of continues on. We don't really get much until we get to Paradox Redemption. Um, Garnet kind of just lets Steven do his Steven thing. Like eventually all the gems are kind of like convinced. Um, we learn about their backstory. She tells Steven it's really cute. One thing that does happen is that Peridot basically says that like it could have been great for the diamonds to continue their colonization of the earth, and that is when Garnet gets really mad. And we do see how protective she is about Rose's mission and the earth because it is the only place where she is allowed to be herself. And she does like care for the humans and the earth a lot. Like that is who like what she dedicated herself
Mm.
to, and that is why she was created, kind of because
And
hmm?
mm, and rubies are quartz.
Oh, they are nice.
Yes. Just
That's
as another little.
little fact. Um, she tries to like teach Peridot how to fuse, because Peridot is like kind of like fusion homophobic. Fus
Heterophobic.
heterophobic, yeah, because they're
They're different
different
types of
gems. Yeah.
gems.
So Peridot's kind of heterophobic.
Basically, all gems are
Yeah, most
in
gems are
general.
heterophobic.
So,
Um,
come on, Rebecca. Come on. Should have kept it that way.
but they eventually like figure out like they're fine with it. Peridot's like, I don't think I ever want to fuse, and Garnet's like, cool. And but she's like, you know what, I will respect you. And they're like, cool. That's something that happens. Um,
So cute.
yeah.
Uh,
Not much happens after that. Hit the diamond. Okay. Ruby and Sapphire kind of piss me off sometimes. They're a little too obsessed with each other, and this is addressed later on. Not fully, but they sabotaged the mission because they couldn't stop flirting with each other and hit the diamond. It's something we see quite a bit when they're separate. Um, yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say. Not much more about Garnet here. Not much more. I guess the only fact I could add with the Bismuth episode is that I kind of like saw like a post recently, and apparently it is implied, I think I texted you this, that Bismuth and Garnet were the ones who attacked the Beta Kindergarten by themselves and destroyed all the Jaspers
Mhm.
and other quartzes. I think it was like Cornelians also, because the amethysts are from Prime, and the rose quartz I think are from Prime. Yeah. So they were the ones who led that attack, which makes me wonder why so many of this stuff about how the gems kind of knew each other during the war and before the war were just not addressed. Like, we have warrior gems and aristocratic gems who would have interacted with each other, but we never hear about those interactions. Like Garnet and Bismuth killed all of Jasper's like troops like that were with her as soon as she emerged, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was during that same attack where they poofed Lapis, who also Sapphire was on the court with Lapis. They were on the same like aristocratic like court, and none of this was ever addressed, and it's something that bothers me a lot. Like, why wasn't it addressed? It could have been addressed. You know, they all knew each other. They all knew each other. They're in charge of each other's issues.
Could have added some cool dynamics.
It would have. Especially because they would have known each other and seen like pretty bad parts of each other. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what would Steven have said if he found out that Garnet attacked like a bunch of baby corpses? Or what would Amethyst have said?
Yeah.
Especially if they knew that that kindergarten was made like really quickly because of Pink Diamond's orders to make them quickly, or Blue Diamond. No, it had to have been Blue Diamond's orders because Lapis was
I,
brought in from Blue Diamond.
yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that could have been addressed more. Like the crystal gems did things, not so good things,
No.
and they were not good people in the beginning too. Um, yeah, that's just more stuff. Know Your Fusion, and I really remember that episode. I think there was some like stuff with Sardonyx and Smokey, but
Yeah, I think so. That was yeah, when they meet. And
hmm.
then they were like, "Oh, you're so excited to show us and we ruined it."
Oh yeah, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah. I remember I rewatched that one recently, I think.
I rewatched like half of it, but I don't think I could find like the clips for the rest of it on YouTube. Because I was casually just looking at clips and not like actually watching the episodes. So when
Oh.
I couldn't find more, I was like, eh. So mindful education is, oh yeah, so Garnet is good here. Um, we like Garnet. We do really like Garnet. Um,
Is that
basically,
is that the PSA one?
the PSA one,
Oh, I thought that was the one with no, not Smoky Quartz. What's her name?
Sunstone.
Firestone? Sunstone.
Yeah, yeah, that episode is I think in future.
Sunstone?
Sunstone. No, no,
No.
no, no. The PSA. I mean,
Oh. Oh. I thought it was no. Really?
yeah. Isn't that the episode where Steven gets like so busy like with Onion and then Little Home School and uh with all the Garnet stuff with her class, and then he becomes really
Oh.
tired.
Damn, I didn't realize that. I thought it was in the main line.
We'll
But I
see.
think you're right.
We'll see. If it comes up earlier. But yeah, in mindful education, basically Stephen catches on. Oh no, sorry, Garnet catches on that Stephen is stressed out and really traumatized, and that something's going on with Connie as well, and it's affecting Stevani a lot.
Mhm.
And Garnet basically helps both of them learn to be more healthy while fused and manage their emotions better and share their traumas together in a more cohesive way, so that Stevani, the poor soul, is not struggling because of their components' intense traumas.
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of it for now. Blah blah blah. Um, we do know that like Garnet has like issues with Blue Diamond and a lot of trauma regarding her,
Yeah.
which is completely understandable. And it kind of has its own conflicts because she isn't able to be there with Steven when a lot of the stuff with Blue Diamond happens. But also she saw in her future vision that it would be worse, so unfortunately, it's kind of it is. Ooh, the zoo. I like these episodes because it's kind of funny to see all of the gems trying to act normal.
Yeah.
It is hilarious just to watch Sapphire trying to just hold everyone together, but everybody messing up. Like she's trying her best to be an aristocrat, but she doesn't remember how to do that.
No.
She's so informal and she's like, yeah, the reason I did that was because of my future vision. That is totally still perfect.
I love it. My favorite part of the episode was when They're like, "Oh my god, we left the engine running. We have to go turn it off." And as she's walking back, yeah, I approximately we're almost near the door. My future mission told me that we're really close to the door. Yeah, yeah, we're almost there. It's like that's so I love that one.
I love it because you could just tell how like ingrained the hierarchy is too. That everyone is just praising Sapphire for the most basic thing she's saying when she doesn't know what's going on either.
God, love it.
Like Holly Blue was kissing her ass. She was
Oh,
kissing up
Holly
to her.
Blue. Holly Blue is like, oh,
Okay, but Holly Blue's a rant on how she would like be totally not be even happier if she was under Yellow Diamond because Yellow Diamond is amazing. That was funny.
oh my God.
That was
She's
so
like,
funny.
yeah.
She's like, yeah, I love blue, and I'm so happy to be a blue gem. But also, I wouldn't be complaining if I was made under yellow because of how intimidating she is. Like, it was hilarious. Once we learned that Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz were the same person, Garnet unfuses because Sapphire thinks that everything was a lie and that they were kind of just pressured into being Garnet forever, which is kind of true. They were kind of just told to be Garnet and always assumed that was like a thing. They haven't gotten much experience outside of being a
Mhm.
fusion and are kind of codependent. That is a good thing. Um, they basically separate for a bit and they decide to get married outside of it so that they could show that they're like, they really do love each other. And after this, that we kind of do notice that Sapphire and Ruby are unfusing like a bit more. In
Mhm.
future, we see that they're more comfortable with unfusing, kind of doing their own thing, and it's good because they're not as codependent as Garnet. The only thing that I can really remember, aside from the PSA, that happens with Garnet is the episode where Steven gets like proposes to Connie, because for some reason
They're so funny. The way they were both like, yeah, propose to her. Do it. It's the best thing ever. You'll love to be married.
it's just Ruby and Sapphire are still like incredibly love struck and not really realistic.
Yeah.
Like Sapphire just straight up says, "You could ignore my future vision." Like, honey. And
Girl.
it something with Garnet is that if Garnet will not try to fix a situation if she knows her future vision won't work, which
Yeah.
is kind of it backfires because the other person does feel like they were lied to and kind of led down the wrong path because they kind of were. Like if she had told him that it would end badly and he still did it and it ended badly, it wouldn't be as bad as her just not even trying to stop him.
Yeah.
And she kind of makes up for it at the end by being the one to comfort Steven and bring him down from his corruption or whatever it was. Um, but that's kind of it. Garnet's arc kind of didn't end on that great of a note because of that.
Yeah. I agree.
Like they did all that effort to show that she isn't codependent, and then they kind of just did show about how she doesn't care, like she isn't that separate from them. Um, like Ruby and Sapphire aren't that over their love in the sense like
Yeah.
they're still in the honeymoon phase forever.
Definitely.
Anyway, Amethyst. Do you have any thoughts about Amethyst? So we could,
Iconic, depressing, um, and quirky.
yeah. So Amethyst was made in the Prime Kindergarten. She is
Mhm.
an Earth gem. She kind of spent, she was over cooked, meaning she didn't emerge for like 1,000 or so years
Just a
until
tad bit.
just a
Tad
tad
bit.
bit until after the Gem War and all the other amethysts and I guess rose quartz too because they were at the same time emerged. And because of
Yeah.
that, she's kind of like considered a runt
Yeah.
um because she's not as strong or as tall as the other amethysts. It causes a lot of insecurity for her throughout the series and it's kind of difficult for her because of the fact that the one person that was able to help her with that was Rose Quartz because Rose was like a mother figure to her. Because of the fact that she was the one who taught her like everything about gem history, everything about gem culture, and always like tried to make her feel like she was like important and the one good thing that came out of the kindergarten. Um, but after Rose died, like the inferiority just like was taken up a notch, especially since her and Pearl's relationship also became a lot worse afterwards.
hmm
And like Greg moved on as well to raising Steven. Vidalia also like had her own kids, and Amethyst was kind of just left alone. And because of that, I mean, she has a great relationship with Steven, But she kind of uses him as like the outlet for her immaturity because she doesn't have anybody else. And in the beginning, it's pretty bad because of the fact that like Steven ends up like carrying, as we mentioned earlier, like the brunt of a lot of her inferiority complexes and
Yeah.
always having to reassure her. Um, we see that she takes up like the um I guess the title of like what was it? Purple Puma?
Yes.
Yeah, in order to make herself feel stronger and just better about herself. Um, we're just shown that throughout the episodes. There's this one episode where she kind of reconnects with Greg, and she basically we learn that she still has a lot of issues regarding Rose and the fact that Rose kind of just left, and she's kind of angry at her for just leaving. And she's angry at Greg for also kind of abandoning her by choosing Steven as well. And she shapeshifts into Rose, and it's bad.
Very, very bad.
We don't like Amethyst in season one.
No.
Um, later on, I think the one that's at the top of my head for an Amethyst centric episode is after in the kindergarten episode, On the Run.
Hmm.
So Steven's kind of bored, he's having fun. He wants to be like no homeboys. So they go on an adventure, and we do learn that Amethyst doesn't feel like home with the crystal gems anymore because she doesn't feel like she fits in. So she takes them to a place where she has always fitted in, and it's the kindergarten. And she basically tells him before he was ready and just trauma dumps everything about the kindergartens to him. And Pearl tries to stop her, but that makes her angrier because she feels like the kindergarten is something to be ashamed of, and because of that,
Yeah.
she is something to be ashamed of. And they have a huge fight, and she cries a lot because she kind of feels guilty for even being born.
Mm.
And Pearl reassures her that she's like the one good thing that came out of the place, and they kind of reconcile. And doesn't really stop things for Amethyst because she continues in Reformed in season two to kind of have a complex about being inferior to the other gems. Like it continues. Um, we see it first with Pearl, where she keeps forcing herself to reform over and over again to be more like Pearl, and ends up hurting her until she kind of accepts herself. We see that with Sardonyx, um, where she sings, I think it's a I don't remember, but it was in Cry for Help. She sings a song about Sugalite and how she feels incredibly bad for the fact that like she was the one who got out of control, even though it was like both her and Garnet. But she feels like everything regarding her is just terrible, and she tries to distract herself with like Vidalia and stuff. Um, and after that, I think is when we get into the kindergarten stuff, the beta kindergarten.
Yeah.
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 So, um, yeah, I think that's it. So Jasper is becomes like a reoccurring like sort of antagonist at this part of the series, and she keeps like showing up and trying to like get revenge on the gems or whatever. I have to rewatch her episodes, but the gist of it is that she's trying to fight them, trying to fight Steven, trying to win because she's really messed up after Malachi. Like she wants that level of control again, and
Hmm.
like not that level of control, that level of power. Um, And so Amethyst gets her ass kicked by Jasper, and she thinks it's because she is a runt, and she gets really upset about it. And she ends up with Steven and Peridot kind of. Wait, sorry, I missed a thing. This is exacerbated also by the fact that beforehand, during Peridot's redemption arc, Peridot points out to Amethyst that she is technically, by homeworld standards, defective
Yeah.
and not as strong as other Amethysts. And that kind of like sticks in her mind for a while. She sees Jasper, who's like this perfect quartz soldier, and Jasper is like a perfect quartz soldier, like an extra strong, like almost like super soldier experiment.
Hmm.
And yeah, she gets her ass kicked. She tries to keep fighting her, and she keeps getting poofed. And in the end, we kind of just figure out that the she ends up fusing with Steven because they both have that sort of inferiority complex, and they got both really hate themselves. And they end up fusing, and it's really cute and really like I love Smoky Quartz. Their relationship at this point is like a lot better, and Amethyst is kind of like the only person that's trying to like protect Steven, um, like emotionally. And they end up beating Jasper, and then Jasper ends up corrupting herself. And we start to see Amethyst get like a lot more subdued, like after this. She meets the other Amethysts in the zoo. It's kind of just there, you know. She has fun with them. Quartzes are fun. Um, and yeah, after that, her arc is more subtle because the only time she really shows up, I believe, is when she's comforting Steven after the Pink Diamond stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just like see that like she's kind of like slowly like adjusting to herself and like learning that she doesn't need to like compare herself to the other corpses all the time and to who she should have been. Um, because by this point she's like completely over the kindergarten stuff, like
Mhm.
with like existing from a kindergarten. She doesn't care about that anymore. Um, and because of that, she's starting to focus her attention onto Steven because she's realizing that everybody, including her, has always put like pressure on him. And she's like the first person to kind of do that, and she continues to do that even in like future where we see that she's kind of just leading her own thing. She's like a guidance counselor for the gems and helps them like find their own careers. And because of that, um, Steven ends up being like pretty mad at her because he can't really understand like why she's so mature. But her arc kind of just ends like at that note. Like she has found herself. She's realized that she enjoys helping people find themselves as well. And she's kind of just comfortable with who she is and what she's doing. Any other thoughts?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well.
Yay! I did that in 10 minutes. Not bad. Yeah. Okay. So, ooh, Pearl. Pearl. Um, do you have
You
any
got 10
thoughts
minutes. Go.
before we? Okay.
um, Pearl. Um, gay. Um, pointy note, bird mom,
Yeah.
and and it's over, isn't it?
Okay. So, um, I guess I should start. So, Pearl was created like a few thousand years before Rose Quartz's rebellion. She was created as Pink Diamond's Pearl. Also, I'm gonna just interject. Did you know that there was a theory that she was originally White Diamond's Pearl and given to Rose in replacement?
I've heard of that.
I'm kind of
Uh,
sad it's not true.
I wish it was. It'd be so
I
cool.
wish it was true. Uh, potential. Anyway,
Potential.
yeah, there's a theory about that. Maybe I'll go more in depth the next video if we talk about the diamonds. Um, yeah, so she's created to be Pink Diamond's Pearl in replacement to her first Pearl, who was abused by Pink Diamond and then taken by White Diamond um, as a punishment and also just to protect the Pearl. Um, and she was a Pearl. She was really obedient. She was just trying to like do whatever she could for her diamond. And she was actually the one who, after noticing that Pink was extremely bored, she was the one who suggested that they go down to the prime kindergarten and just see what's going on. She is the one who created the rose quartz alter ego. She told Pink to dress up as
Mhm.
a rose quartz and parade around and just kind of like see the world. And it's because of that that Rose ended up falling in love with the earth. And so, you know, Rose started fighting, um, or I guess Pink at this point started fighting against the other diamonds as Rose, arguing with them as well, and it didn't work out. The human zoo was created, all of this other stuff happened that
Mhm.
was trying to compensate for a lot of Pink's worries. And so in the end, they both just decided to start the rebellion. And the thing that kind of kickstarted Rose abandoning the like her pink identity was after Garnet, like they saw Garnet fuse during that attack. She became known as the Renegade Pearl by now because she like taught herself how to like sword fight and just kill anybody. She was really smart and really like scary on the battlefield. That's her reputation basically. And we learn after they learn about Garnet, Pearl basically starts talking about how she's been imagining that she met Rose Quartz on Earth and that there wasn't any pink involved in that. And that kind of, and Rose basically is like super happy about this and they almost fuse. And it's kind of after this where where Pink Diamond decides to fake her own shattering.
Mhm.
And obviously, because she can't shatter herself, Pearl is the one who shapeshifts into Rose and does this. But before she like completes like the task to like shatter her, quote unquote, Pink gives her the command of a diamond to never speak about this again, which basically solidifies the fact that like she cannot speak about it. She physically cannot talk about it anymore.
Mhm.
Like it's like hardwired into her, and every time she tries to talk about it in the series, she covers her mouth because she physically cannot do that. But everything continues on. The Gem Rebellion happens. They win the war. Pearl is extremely traumatized, and she kind of continues the rest of like her life up until like the 1980s. Kind of just by Rose's side, being her number one, but also kind of tolerating the human partners that Rose kind of got throughout the years. And she didn't really seem to mind them because she viewed them at the time as like insignificant because of like their lifespan. And until Rose decided to give up her form, which I really do want to talk about Rose eventually. That'll probably be in the next one.
Yeah.
Because I can talk about Peridot a lot, I can talk about Lapis a lot, and I could talk about Jasper a little bit. So we'll have a lot of time. Um, so what was I saying last before I got
You were talking about how Pearl saw pink rose quartz's like partners as irrelevant and insignificant.
Yeah. So then Steven was born, and Pearl has a lot of feelings about that. At the beginning, she was like pretty messed up about it. She didn't really want to interact with Steven. I mean, she found him a little cute at times. Like in the episode with the baby, she found like him being happy with like the keys to be kind of adorable. But then like she couldn't like really grasp the fact that Rose was gone because like gems don't
Hmm.
know what babies are. They have no idea how reproduction works. They can't have children. It's something that's foreign to them. Like gems can't die.
No,
Like even when they're shattered, they're still alive.
which is
Um,
a whole other.
it's a whole nother issue. Um, and so eventually, regardless of that, she becomes Steven's like mother figure. Like she is the person who is she's his mother basically. Like even Garnet doesn't like get up to that level. Um, and she's basically the one who takes care of him. She teaches him everything. She taught him well enough in school, actually, that in a comic, Steven got like a near perfect score on an exam, like when he went
No.
to an actual school.
Okay. Iconic.
Yeah, so like Pearl taught him, like she taught him well, and she taught him outside
Hmm.
of like human propaganda too, as we see in like historical friction, I think it's called.
Yes.
That was really iconic.
Oh my god, historical friction.
Oh, I love that episode. Um, yeah, in the beginning, she's kind of just that. She is his mother figure. She finds him, he is a very like energetic boy. She finds him a little too much at times, but she loves him a lot. She takes care of him. She handles like all the stuff. Um, she kind of just wants him to be safe and to also stay away from a lot of the gem conflict. She doesn't really seem the most interested in him learning the nitty-gritty and darker details and gets mad at when
Mhm.
people do tell him that.
Mhm.
Um, Steven watches her die,
Oh my god.
which is interesting, pretty traumatic to just see his mother die in front of him. Um, but yeah, throughout the entire time, regardless of the fact that like she loves Steven a lot and she's trying to keep away all of the darker parts of Gem Society away from him. Um, for another reason is because since she was a pearl, she's like practically like a slave in the homeworld
Yeah.
hierarchy, and
Hmm.
she doesn't want him to like think less of her because of that. So she tries to keep all of that hidden. Along with the stuff about rose quartz, which she just can't talk about. Um, so we see that she's still like so like devoted to Rose, and it's almost as if she hadn't like really gotten rid of her programming of being completely obedient to like her superior. And that's kind of like a weird implication that's kind of found throughout the series is how Pearl is never free from Pink Diamond and like I guess her quote unquote master's influence
Yep.
because of the final like command she was given. So she is like never free up until that secret is revealed, and she's always going to have to be like subservient to Rose and doing nothing but like following her legacy and protecting it. And on one hand, it's like is like passionate about it because she loved Rose, and she loved the freedom that she was able to be given on Earth. But also, she's doing everything for her master, and that's like something that is like not really addressed until the end of the series, but it's something that we see. But it causes a lot of trauma for her because of especially when we get to episodes like Space Race and um, Rose's Scabbard,
Mm.
where in Space Race, Pearl is like obsessed with showing Steven Homeworld because we kind of learn that while Pearl really does care for the Earth and like um just the freedom she has there, she isn't fully over Homeworld and the life she used to have with Rose, and the fact that she kind of only did this for Rose. She fought the war so she could be with Rose.
Yep.
And now that Rose is gone, she doesn't really have a reason aside from protecting Steven.
Would you say now that it's over, it's a
Oh. Um, so she almost gets him killed, but not for the like first or last time. But she just eventually chooses Steven over Homeworld, and she never really talks about wanting to go back there again. She kind of goes over, like, is over that and like accepts the fact that like her mission is just to protect Steven. Um, and then we get to Rose's scabbard, which she finds out that Lion was Rose's lion and that he has like a lot of the stuff that Rose used to have. And she's kind of freaked out about this because she has been handling one of Rose's biggest secrets that has kind of like been eating away at her for like thousands of years. But Rose didn't tell her about all of this stuff. And so she feels like everything
betrayed.
that, yeah, she feels betrayed and that
Yeah.
everything that she's been through in raising Steven and doing everything was kind of a misplaced trust. And
Hmm.
I don't know, she doesn't know how to feel about that because she feels like Rose is disappointed in her for how she's reacting. Like she doesn't think that she should be angry at Rose at this point, even though she really very much is. And she kind of puts those thoughts away when Steven comforts her, but it gets really bad. Like she almost lets Steven die because of like
Oh my god, yeah.
how messed up it is. Like how messed up she is about the betrayal. And we see a flashback of in context, it actually is like pretty sad because Rose calls her my pearl, and you only use my when you're talking about somebody who is your superior in Homeworld.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that.
So it was basically the first time that Rose would have brought Pearl onto her level and said like, or not even onto her level, like above her.
Hmm.
And she basically, yeah, it was essentially that she wanted to be angry, but she felt guilty for doing so. And she felt like kind of disgusted with herself and thought that Rose would be disappointed in her. But Steven said that he wasn't, and that kind of like brought them closer together. And after that, she just tried to start being more open with him. Sardonyx, we kind of brushed on that a little bit. Pearl has an issue with feeling powerful because of the fact that she is a Pearl. And kind of before that, no, this is after actually. Um, yeah, so she has a lot of inferiority about being a pearl because she doesn't feel like she says that I'm just a pearl. Um, she doesn't feel like she's as strong or like that motivated without Rose by her or like somebody commanding her. And because of that, she tricked Garnet into fusing, and obviously it's a terrible thing. And eventually they kind of like get past that situation. But the reason was basically that she wants power. And fusion is the one way she wants it. She even like kind of shows it off with her jealousy of Sugilite in the beginning, and also with Rainbow Quartz. We kind of see how
Mhm.
she uses that to like loom over Greg's head about like how she has like more power with Rose than he does. It's kind of an issue she has. I don't think it ever gets addressed, does it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of just something that's never really addressed. She doesn't really fuse with people after that as much. Um, aside from, I think she only really fuses with Steven and then maybe Amethyst like once or twice.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, in the with Pear, what happened?
I was just easy. Phew.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about
Um,
that.
no worries. Peridot kind of brings up this part that she's just a pearl, and we see how badly they're treated. And
Mm.
Pearl loses against her, but everybody is still really proud of her. It's a cute episode. Um, after that, I think the only stuff I could probably mention is the fact that we keep seeing Pearl cover her mouth throughout the next two seasons whenever anything with Pink Diamond is mentioned. And it's like incredibly suspicious. Like she's always covering her mouth as if she wants to say something, but she can't. And um, it gets Steven into a lot of trouble. Garnet even mentions that Steven is upsetting Pearl by asking this because I feel like at this point Garnet has probably figured out that Pearl can't talk about it. And also the fact that Pearl was Pink Diamond's Pearl, and anybody in the aristocratic like sphere would have known that.
Yeah.
In the trial, the other pearls, Yellow and Blue Pearl, kind of look up and like get nervous when they hear about Pink Diamond's Pearl at the time and where she was. So they all know that she was involved in the rebellion and betrayed the diamonds. Um, when Aquamarine shows up and Steven says that he is Rose Quartz and he shattered Pink Diamond, that's when we see Pearl like really try to like reach out, but she can't. And it's kind of after that, after he returns, yeah, it's almost immediately after he returns where she tries to open up to him about it, on their vacation, and we kind of see
Um,
that she physically cannot tell him. Like her mouth keeps clamping like shut, and like her hands keep like covering her mouth no matter how hard she tries to tell him. And so eventually, when when Steven confronts her about it after, oh wait, on the moon base when Steven is with Lapis, he gets a dream and he sees Pearl shatter Pink Diamond. Like he sees her like walk up with Rose's sword. Because the trial has kind of put in together that it was probably Pearl who did this, and
yeah.
technically they were right. And so he asks her, and she does this whole ploy because she can't physically tell him, where he'd have to go through her memories. And we see a lot of her traumas regarding the Gem War, seeing everybody she knew kind of just die or get corrupted, um, having Rose like kind of throw away her life, and honestly almost commit suicide in order to get Stephen. Um, and then we see the final stuff that I described earlier with Pink Diamond. And it causes a lot of problems, and we learn more about the backstory and everything. And it's kind of the way her arc ends. It's how it ends. Her arc kind of ends with her telling everybody the truth and her kind of being free of Rose's influence because she kind of moves on from her after that. We see her interacting with other humans more, doing her own thing with the other gems, and kind of devoting herself to Steven and like Little Homeworld and fixing the Gem Empire. We don't really see much of anything else after that when it comes to her and Rose. It's kind of like the one thing that put her at peace, essentially. and that was kind of Pearl's arc. She is, I think, one of my favorite characters in the series.
Yeah,
Um,
same, definitely.
yeah, like her arc and her story is definitely like at the top of my list. Um, Character wise, I like others just because Pearl was kind of shitty, but when it comes to story arc, she's definitely my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Mhm. Do you have any thoughts about that before we end this off?
Um, Not really. Who do you think has the most complex story?
Are we talking like that is shown like to us outright, or the one that's more subtle?
Both. Let's do both.
If we're going by outright, I think it's Pearl, but if we're going by subtlety, it's definitely Steven.
I agree. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because Steven's character arc is also like very like he's the main character.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say we.
and like we see it, and it's very subtle. Like third, fourth rewatch, you're gonna catch all the details type of subtle. Which I think that's how like Rebecca said that she intended the show to be. Obviously, near the end, a lot of the stuff got canceled, so a lot of the arcs didn't complete themselves and all that.
Yeah.
But it was originally intended to be something where you notice all the details on a rewatch. Um, yeah. Who's your favorite character arc?
I think Pearl. It's so good. I love because she's so multi-dimensional. Like there's so many different parts of her that we get to see and experience. And it's like every single episode you see a little different part of her that makes her more whole.
Yeah. It's
And I
just
love that.
you kind of see her like learning to heal like the more she like interacts
Mm,
with Steven and all that.
yes.
And I just like how we kind of see her become her own person by future.
Oh, with her little jacket.
Her little jacket, her little friend group.
Oh my, her friend group's so cute.
It's so adorable. Um, yeah. So I guess that's it. Do you have anything else you want to talk about real quick?
Not really, no. I think you covered everything very
Yay.
thorough.
Yeah, I've been doing I'm a Steven Universe super fan. I watched the series as it was airing and I've rewatched it many, many times. I've scoured the Wikipedia pages. I was there writing original fan theories, okay?
Oh
All
my
my
god.
all my old fan art from while the show was airing is deleted. But I was a Steven Universe fan artist with my
Was
little
it
friend group sending them pictures
was it deleted on purpose or an accident?
on purpose because it was just like for me and my friends because we used to watch every week.
Now I wish I could see some. Damn.
I wish I had them, but I don't, they're like not on my computer or anything anymore. I think when I
Damn.
switched computers, I kind of just wiped it because I needed more space.
R.I.P.
Yeah. I do have an old like watercolor art I did that I might redo someday. I might redo it someday.
And to
Not for,
draw it.
hmm?
To draw it?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
We should link
That's
that
something.
video down below.
Oh, definitely. And
Yeah. I
go
drew
watch that.
all of our friends kind of, and the people we knew, as Steven Universe characters.
That was
Um,
Aquamarine.
yeah, Steven was Aquamarine because obviously.
Who were you again?
I was a Ruby.
Oh my god, yeah, that was perfect. Yep.
Yeah. Uh,
'Cause you're,
hmm?
'cause you're short.
Yeah, exactly. I'm short and I have a temper and I'm kind of dumb.
Yeah, but that applies to a lot of people. Let's be honest here.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be linked down below. I'll also link the first Scram View episode so we can just have the series connected.
Yes.
And probably any of the other ones as they are posted, I'll probably update them as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll probably make a playlist.
Yeah. For our Steam Universe special.
Yes.
But yeah, uh, thank you so much for listening to my ramble. I'm probably gonna cut it down a lot so that's more cohesive, especially the first two. arc. But next time we will have the remaining Scram view with the halfway mark until the end of the series and probably the movie and future if we have time.
Yes. Yes.
In the next Scram Dive, we will be covering Peridot, Lapis, Jasper, and maybe any other character that we can cover. I really do want to talk about Rose though, so definitely her.
Yeah.
Um, hers is pretty like straightforward, so I don't have to go that in depth about it, luckily, but I love her
Thank
arc.
God.
Yeah. Steven was more complicated.
Yeah.
And Garnet
He.
was just difficult because she doesn't have an arc. Ugh, poor Garnet. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. Ooh, I forgot to make a question of the week. I'll just edit this. The question of the week is, who is your favorite Steven Universe character? Mine is Pearl. I've mentioned this many times. What about you, Steven?
I'm gonna go with. I think of someone who's really quirky. I'm gonna go with um I'm gonna go with obviously I have to go with Holly Blue Agate.
Oh my god, yes.
It changes daily, so I don't have an answer. I really don't.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
now,
just
it's Holly Blue Agate.
yeah. You know what our favorite arcs are regardless, so just let us know in the comments down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.